Hey everybody, Wes McDonald here and Kenneth Edmonds, and welcome to episode 2 of Flat Rate World. And Ken, I am laughing my head off right now because this is our second introduction because I realized that we hadn't actually started broadcasting yet.
Well, but practice makes perfect, right? Isn't that what they say?
I think so. I'm getting plenty this morning, that's for sure.
And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ken Edmonds, and I write and speak and teach about service in our industry. And Wes and I are partnered together. And we got a thing up that says comments and questions. The one thing that I want to ask is let us know where you're watching from, because we always like to know that.
Yeah, I find it very interesting to see where people are watching from. And as we, did talk about when doing the challenge, that we had a global, market, right? That we had people from so many different countries and so many different places that were involved in the challenge. So yeah, certainly let us know where you're from. And if you have comments or questions, these live streams are awesome because we actually get to have a conversation with each other. And that means you. So if you have some questions or comments as we're going through the live stream, that's what we are here for. Warts and all. That's what I love about these live streams, is that this is a very instantaneous thing that's happening right now. Unless you're watching this as a recording, then it's not happening right now. But one thing you can bank your watch on is that we will be doing these every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to be part of the Flat Rate conversation and you want to hear about some of the things that we're talking about, some of the guests that we're going to be having on this program, then make sure you book that, put it in your calendar. The other cool thing is those that are registered with us from the 10-day Flat Rate Challenge, you will get notifications. You'll understand exactly when we're doing these things, right? So, Ken, you and I have been very busy lately. And one of the things I love is to start to see some of this stuff coming together, right? And one of the decisions that we made when we started looking at sponsors was this whole concept of basically charter affiliates. I'm going to share my screen here for a second just to show everybody. All right. So, for those that helped us out during the 10-day challenge, the sponsors, they are officially charter affiliates, and they will be listed here. And we're so thankful for everything that they did and the support that they give on the model. And I just want to take a moment to show you some of these. Nexera and BI Services, Cartos Suite, powered by InTime Tech, the 20 Predictive Insight, Melissa Whitaker International, Pulsar 360, Clover Imaging Group, and of course the MPSA. And just can't thank the sponsors, enough for all the work that they've done to push the flat rate model forward. Because, Ken, as you know, it's not just about sponsorship, but it's about the ways that these organizations that started with us are looking at how they can actually support the flat rate model, right?
And that is so true. And we appreciate their contribution not only in supporting the event, but their focus on helping dealers have the tools that they need to be successful. And that's as we add affiliates, and there will be affiliates added to this list. We're looking for people to work with and partner with that will help our dealers, the dealers that we work with, and the dealers are certified, be successful and have programs that are innovative and creative so that the dealer has the tools they need.
Yeah. And, I can share this, that, one of the customers that I work with internationally on their flat rate program have already engaged with both Nexera and also with Predictive Insight, because as we move through sort of figuring out the pieces that they need for their flat rate program, those were two of the ones that really came to the surface quickly, right? And, so there is some important work that each of these partners can do to support the model. Because we've talked about, Ken, and I want to keep saying it, the flat rate model isn't just about changing the way that we're billing people, right? The flat rate model is about doing things in a different way. And, one of the things is at the assessment level, what kind of information are you getting, right? And how reliable is the software that you're using to be able to support that program. And so I absolutely love that. Service costing, which is near and dear to your heart. I know you've done a lot of work with Nexera and BI. So engaging those with our partners as well, right? So even if you're not working with Ken and I in your flat rate program, we certainly encourage you to check out this page and make sure that you check out some of these folks, because they are living flat rate and thinking about it just as we are. So make sure you check them out. And looks like we got Nelson. Good to see you again, buddy. And may the force be with you. I can see that you spotted a little bit of my Star Wars stuff in the background. That's BB-8 in the corner for anyone that doesn't know him, swimming with the fishies. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, Nelson. And may the force be with you as well. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some marketing basics and examples, right? And as I talked about, when you're offering a flat rate program, it is not just the billing mechanism. That would be far too easy for competitors to come in and simply underquote you. And I had this conversation with a dealer friend of mine last week, two of them actually, and on two different occasions. And one of them actually won a deal with a flat rate offering based on just price alone, because they were looking at a competitor's pricing and they undercut it. And that's a friend of mine, so I can share that, right? And he kind of smiled about it and said, yeah, I kind of see the problem. That's how we won it, right? Is that we came in and actually did it, for less money. The second dealer friend of mine that I was speaking with actually was concerned that all flat rate was just billing it differently. And after that conversation, it's amazing how people's eyes opens up, right? So if you're having that same thought, and we'll get to that in objections, I guess, in a few minutes, make sure you talk to Ken and I, because this model is not just that. This model is sticky. This model does what's right for both the dealer and the customer at the same time. So this is something that hasn't happened in our space in a long time, kind of that perfect alignment, right, Ken?
Oh, that's absolutely true. And I love the story you told in the challenge about the purple cow.
Right.
Because when we're talking about marketing, when you have something new and different, it's easy to get your sales team excited. It's easy to get your customers excited. And we've got some things that we're going to do as Flat Rate World to help you do that. One of the pieces right now is this live event, because your customers may be in our audience listening to this and learning about it. And what we're going to do is we're also going to work on developing some media information that you can use if you're in the Flat Rate affiliate, or if you're a flat rate certified. And we're also going to work on trying to create some publicity so that people start to hear the buzz about flat rate. All of those things are going to help the dealers that work with us to be successful with this Purple Cow program.
Well, and I said that Ken and I have been busy, and that's one of the things that we are working on, right, is making sure that there is brand recognition in the marketplace from the customers themselves, right? That this brand recognition is not about the kind of equipment that you sell or the type of toner that you sell. This is about the kind of program that you're offering. And so we actually have created this piece of collateral, which some of our dealers are using now, which is basically an infographic describing to customers what it is, what the program really means. And, Ken, you brought back up the Purple Cow example again, and I love that one, because the other thing about the Purple Cow is the simplicity. In other words, the differences in the model weren't necessarily, something that was going to completely disrupt your world, but they were significant enough to drive that additional value for the customer to say, I need this, right? And when we're talking about flat rate certified, that's exactly it. So when we talk about it, if you're actually building your marketing materials and trying to show the customer, what some of the things are, it can be very simple. The first one is, let's all stop counting, right? One of the biggest frustrations of people with data collection agents is they haven't really changed that much over the years. And these data collection agents, for one reason or another, will go stale. And that means devices aren't that we're supposed to be getting automated meter reads for. We simply aren't from one time to another, or for other reasons, right? Firmware updates on equipment, etc. And any customer we have in our managed print program today, when we send them our invoice with the color breakdown and the mono breakdown, do they just take our word for it, Ken? It's like, yeah, I'll just pay you exactly what you sent me.
No. And that's how come they find all of our billing mistakes.
Well, exactly. And I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than a billing error. And it doesn't matter if the reason's technical or otherwise, right? So although this one's very simple, this is very Purple Cow, It's very powerful because one of the things, the only reason the customers recount our meters is because they have to, right? So let's get rid of that counting. Like, make no mistake, I'm not saying that we stop using DCAs, because at this point we're still using them for making sure that our benchmarks are in order, right? And if you don't know what we're talking about when we talk about benchmarks, then you can reach out to us and we'll have that conversation. They're not minimums, benchmarks to make sure that whatever we promise the customer that we're delivering on. So we still need to get those, but it's time to stop billing with those meters, right? It's time to make the customer's life that much easier for being able to do what they want to do, which is print and pay us. That's it. So let's stop making it so hard.
Okay, so hold on. Let me go back up. I want to just talk about this for 1 second. So imagine sending an email to your customer with those next two, with that box and the box right below it, the alignment galore. Go ahead and now scroll up a little bit there so we can see it.
Yeah,
that one. Or these three, and just send that to your customers. And if this sounds good to you, contact us.
Yeah.
You think that's going to get somebody's attention? Oh, no more counting, predictable spend, everything's aligned. Oh, yeah, maybe I should learn about that. And that's going to get you a lot more attention than, oh, by the way, we have a new model copier you should buy.
Well, for sure, right? And we live in the world now of, and no insult to the manufacturers, because most of the mainstream ones are doing a great job in their equipment. They're all pretty comparable. It's the days of kind of the lemons in the space, although we still get them. People have figured out stuff on the hardware side pretty well. So trying to sell just based on the hardware specs, as we all know, is a dangerous game as we start to move into price wars, right? So trying to, express that value on our piece of equipment, whatever that is. What really is important for the customer, and I love having this conversation. I have this one with end users all the time. I'll say, hey, talk to me about how my company makes money, because that's going to really help us to understand if we can work together, right? Like, if you're okay with the way that I make money, if you're okay with what actually gets me up in the morning and pushes me to help you, then we can do stuff together. And in the old managed print models, under a cost per page program, the model itself is built so that we want the customer to print more color, right? And the sales reps, because we're paying them on GP on that piece of equipment, do they want to sell a bigger piece of equipment or a smaller piece of equipment? So under the flat rate program, everything becomes a cost, right? There's only one revenue line now under the flat rate program, and that's the amalgamated deal that includes the equipment, the service, and the toner, and any other extras that we've talked about, right? So for the customer to say, look, we're going to try and make you as efficient as possible, and we're going to make sure you have the best piece of equipment in there from a service perspective, so we don't have to fix it, because the more we have to fix it, the less money we make under this contract. So we're in perfect alignment. You're going to get the best stuff to be able to do your office print and copy, and we're going to help you to reduce spend, because that helps us to reduce spend, right? So everybody's happy. I love this whole alignment piece. And then, of course, the predictable spend, and this is a funny one, that any business, like, one of the things that we try and do is look for cost assurity, right? And Ken, this is one I've always loved talking to you about. Like, how do you get cost assurity on, the equipment that we're putting in field, for example, right? And the reason we're looking for that is because it helps us do a better job of projecting what our revenues and costs are, right? So anytime we get that variable cost in place, and that's the same with the customers, believe me. And actually, I have a good example on that. Paper. Do you know why dealers don't sell paper, Ken?
Because it goes too many other places?
Yeah, well, it's too variable in its cost, right? It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable. So most dealers don't sell that paper. So make no mistake, our customers feel the same way about what we're offering them for our print programs. So the more unpredictable it is, the less likely they are to get as much enjoyment out of that program. So give them predictable spend.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the last thing there that we're doing is really pushing in the marketplace to start getting people to ask for flat rate certified, right? And we'll talk about this because Ken and I are actually working right now on the certification testing. So if you're a dealer out there that already has a flat rate program, and you would like to consider getting the flat rate certified logo and certification, get in touch with us, because we do have a testing platform, which will basically give the customer the understanding that you have the base elements of a good flat rate program to be able to offer them, right? So get in touch with us. For those that are working with us under our mentorship program, this is something that you get at the end of it, because once we're finished with you on the program, you are automatically flat rate certified, right? So either way, you've got your own program and you want to be able to get certified, get in touch with us. If you're working with us under our mentorship program, then you're going to get this anyway. But we're really pushing hard on this. It's one of those things, Ken, that what frustrated me in the early days of the managed print services space, still today actually, is that there was no standardization of what managed print meant, right? You asked anybody, what managed print actually meant, and you would get a different answer every single time, right? It's like going into one of those Facebook forums where I saw one the other day from a tech services group that I belong to, and they asked somebody what the best printer was. I was like, oh, here we go. This string's going to be about 100 messages long, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no standard definition for that. So in the managed print services space, obviously, one of the things that really thrilled me was, and actually I got to work on it with folks like Barney Kister and others with CompTIA on their managed print trust mark. And so they actually built a definition of what the bare elements were, working with dealers, working with partners to figure out what that was. And that was such a good service to the industry, right? So that if you see that CompTIA managed print trust mark with that dealer, that they're offering the bare minimum standards of what the organization that I'm the president of right now, the Managed Print Service Association, would agree with, to say, yes, we feel that that's a managed print program.
And that would be an organization that's also one of our affiliates as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely. They've been very kind to us. Hey, Candido, man, how are you, buddy? So Candido and I go way back, and we actually did a lot of stuff together in the early days of managed print. And he was doing some phenomenal things at Xerox, really high in the assessment side of managed print as well. So Candido, good to see you, buddy. I miss you, and I can't wait till we can get back together. And Nelson, just comment. I'll definitely get back in touch with you, buddy. So thanks for for joining us in here again today.
Okay.
All right. So next, what I want to talk about is objections. So let's spend some time talking about objections, Ken.
Okay. Can I start with this one?
Please do.
But, because the interesting thing is the only objections I've ever heard so far has never been with a customer objecting to this idea.
Nope.
It's always been the dealer, and so you think about it. If the customer's ready, it was interesting. I shared a post on LinkedIn today about this you always have to be working not in your business, but on your business. And another post that I shared today was about adapting your business to what to what your customer wants. So if your customer's not raising objections about it, maybe it's something that you at least ought to ask them. Is that something that would interest you? Because if you ask them, you may be surprised how many people want it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. When I first started working on the flat rate program years ago, that's one of the first things I did was to interview end users and put out surveys and say, if you had just the simple one that we talked about first on the sheet, I'm going to bring it back up here because this works. 1 second. Where's my screen change? There you go. If I could give you predictable spend on your print, would that be something you'd want to consider? And the answer every single time was, how can you do that? Right? You can do that? Yes. Then we definitely have a conversation, right? So you're right, Ken. The objections that we've had so far have mostly come from the dealer channel. And unfortunately, some of the objections that are coming out are the same ones that you and I have talked through for probably the last 2 years. In other words, they're not new. They're new for the person asking them, but that's why we're here. So if you have an objection and a question, send it to us. If you have one and you're watching the live stream today, comment on it. We'll put it up there. We'll talk through it, right? And I will talk to a couple of the typical objections that I've heard so far. One is that it screws the customer. That's one that I heard. So obviously they're talking about a different kind of flat rate program than we are, Ken, because this is more fair to the customer because we're actually trying to work with them on their workflows and reduce their spend, We're actually trying to help them spend less to become more efficient and to start looking at different workflows to be able to help them in their processes, right? So I think where that comes from is some people say, well, you can't get away from minimum. Somewhere in the contract, there has to be a minimum, right? Customers must have to pay more than what you're promising them. And the answer is maybe. And the answer is also no, because many of the dealers actually offer a true flat rate offering, which has no overages. And the only way you can do that is to make sure your assessment is done correctly. Numbers make all the difference in the world, and we have those numbers. So if you actually want to offer a flat rate offering which has zero unpredictable spend in it, do the assessment properly. We can help you learn how to do that. The second piece is, again, for that predictable spend, I'm going to put the picture back up here for a second. That's not saying that they're not going to get another bill at some point in time. What that's going to say is, look, I promise you that you're going to get 12 equal bills for the year. And in year 2, if something has happened, like it either has to go down or go up, we'll readjust that price for year 2, and you will get 12 exact predictable bills, right? So that's not saying that you're going to get a predictable spend for the entirety of the contract, because obviously things change for the customer, right? They might hire some people. They may sell off a division of their organization. There could be things that affect, what they're doing, right? But make no mistake, 100% predictable spend in the model that we teach and train people on for their customers, right, Ken?
Exactly. And I was going to say, it starts with, as you mentioned, doing the assessment. So once you have the data, you can predict this. The other thing, and this is why managed print never took hold, because in managed print, if you help the customer manage print, it reduced your click volume, and you didn't like that because it killed your revenue. So in this model, as you help your customer reduce their print and reduce their color output, what's going to happen is you will wind up reducing their expense, and you will share some of that reduction in cost with them. So you drive their cost down, but at the same time, you're going to drive your profit up. And so it is fair to both parties, and we get out of this silly race to zero.
It's true. I'll tell you, Ken, in my own life, like when I'm working with my financial advisor and he finds ways for me to make money or save money, guess what I do? I pay him to help me to do that, because in the end of the day, it's much more than I'm paying for the expertise to help me do that, right? So customers aren't adverse to that. In other words, if you can help me, then of course I'd like to give you a little bit, more on that, right? Because I want you to be healthy as well. This is one of those things that was so frustrating for years, and I can remember doing this in deals, going into customers saying you have to lower your price down to this because your competitor is, and having that argument to say, hey, look, this actually hurts me. I've got to walk away from this deal now. Like, it is so low that I can't touch it. They're buying the business, right? And not that anyone watching this has ever, run into a situation where a competitor bought the business, right? That's that kind of conversation in the old model that happens. Under this model, it's like, hey, I'm going to help you save more money than ever before. You're going to get quality product, right? That could either be an OEM original supply, could be a really good compatible or remanufactured supply from someone like Clover, right? We're not going to sacrifice in those areas. You deserve the best. What we're going to do is get into your workflow and drive those down. So objection number 1, screwing the customer, not even close. No, not even close. This is helping the customer more than we've ever helped them.
Well, and I was going to say, I want to go back to the pandemic too, because the dealers that did the best, they were on flat rate during the pandemic, but they had the ability in that time frame to help their customers by foregoing some payments or extending the lease out or doing some things. So the dealer was in control rather than the environment in control. So you have the ability under a flat rate program to do what you need to take care of your customer. And I am, you will never find anybody that's bigger than I am on building customer service, trying to get customers for life. And that means you treat them right always.
Yeah. Well, I like what you say there too, is in times of adversity, is that it gives you much more control over how you work with your customer to figure out what that looks like, right? And quite frankly, some of the dealers that I work with didn't have to do anything, because remember, we talked about making changes in that 1 year, right? By the time that 1 year anniversary came up and things started getting back to normal, guess what happened? Their volumes and things were coming back as well. So it was a moot point, right? Other dealers did exactly what you said, which is to say, look, we are going to lower your payments. We're going to figure this out for this year because it's difficult and everything else. Here's what it's going to be, like a controlled measure to continue to give that predictable income for the dealer, predictable spend for the customer while giving them a break, right? It's just so much more flexible. Yet when it's based on a cost per page program and those pages disappear, that they're just gone, right? That revenue is 100% gone. So customers want you to be whole. They don't want to screw you because you don't want to screw them, right? So get rid of that objection. The second objection that I hear oftentimes, and again, it's not from customers yet, but from dealers, is that people only want to spend, what they're using, right? And of course, that's not the case, because we're going to go back to this one here. That sometimes that is true, and I make no mistake that there are some customers that want to count. And Ken, you know what I always say when we talk about a customer like that? Don't sell them flat rate. Nothing obligates your dealership to convert 100% of your deals to flat rate. That would just be silly, right? So for those customers that really are obsessed with counting and making sure that they're just paying for exactly what they use, then continue to use your cost per page program for them. But I guarantee it, if you start talking with your customers about this ability to get rid of the counting, about making administration of their managed print program easier and more cost effective for them, that you're going to get people all day long that will tell you, yes, this is something that I would like to do. So it's not for everyone. And I think that for that objection, that's what's really important, Ken, is that not everybody buys for the same reason. Not everyone has the same value chain as the next customer, right?
Yeah. So I have 3 questions you can use to qualify your customers and see if that's really going to be an objection. Do you like overages? If they say yes to that, then maybe they want to keep counting. Do you like having to get meter reads? If they say yes. Do you like having to go through and negotiate for new copiers every 3 years? Is that something you find fun? If they say yes to all 3, then they fit on the old program. If they say no to any of those, they're probably
they say no to one of those. That's what I love about it, right? So yeah, just we can't assume, right? And that's one of the things that I learned early on in my sales career was this danger of assumption, right? That the more we assume, the more likely we are not to like the outcome in the long run. I can remember working with a sales partner of mine at a customer location, and they lost a document management deal before they ever had it. And when the sales rep went to the dealer, because they were friends, said, "Hey, why didn't you talk to me about this? Why didn't you let me, bid on this business? Like, that's what we do, right?" And they said, "We just didn't know that you did it. We thought that all you sold was copiers, right?" So, that's the danger there. Under this flat rate program, the sales reps, everyone is going to start thinking about more ways to help the customer, because you're going to start layering those things onto the seat, right? Yeah, I just absolutely love it. And those that are selling flat rate out there today love it, and probably don't want too many of the folks watching this to get onto the bandwagon yet. But what can you do, right? All right. I'm going to talk a little bit. We're running out of time. And again, we spoke about this earlier, but just get certified. If you want to adapt to the business climate in 2021 and beyond, that's going to mean not just flat rate for managed print, but probably for managed technology services, definitely for document management services, likely for unified communication and cybersecurity and other things, right? As we're looking to grow in this, flat rate is your bench to get started, right? To get in there, to start offering these things, to be able to layer it. So our programs are pretty simple, 8 to 12 weeks mentorship program, program review and advice. If you already have a program, we'd love to look at it. Listing on flatrate.world, and use of the logo. So to be able to use the flat rate certified logo in your marketing, materials, etc. So that's all the time I'm going to spend on that, because if you want to talk about it, we are here to talk about that. Well, that's all the time I got for today, Ken. I can't believe how fast these things always go by. And, certainly next week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we'll be having additional conversations. So I think, Ken, you and I discussed, we're going to try and get out the invites a little earlier. So probably this afternoon, you can see an invite for next week's Flat Rate World episode as well.
Yeah, because we look forward to having the audience grow. We love talking to each other about flat rate, and we love sharing with you, our audience, because we're convinced that this is the path to achieving the utmost success for your company. This isn't about us selling you something. This is about us helping you become the best possible business you can become.
Yeah, we are just humble and lowly consultants helping dealers with their programs. So if you want to do that with Flat Rate, then we're at your service. So until next week, everybody, make sure that you have an awesome day. Happy selling, whether that's cost per page or Flat Rate. And Ken, I look forward to talking to you again next week.
We'll see you Wednesday.
All right. Cheers, everybody.